Hey quilters, this is Ann McNew. I'm doing something a little bit different for you today. Normally I do a hand-guided demo, and today I thought I would show you my Butler system. Now my one machine BB, who is my baby, she is a Gammill Classic Plus, and I do all of my hand-guided quilting on her. This machine I'm using today is CJ, and CJ is a Gammill Vision 2. She's the 32-inch Premier, and I'll give you a little bit more information about her later in the video. But first of all, I wanted to show you, this is an Honor Flight quilt that I just finished. I think it measures 40 by 40. And I did this on the Butler. I've got two different designs. One is these stars and ribbons, and then this one is the eagles. There's a lot of white space on this, so when I quilted this, the eagles would show up. If I did this on a really busy quilt, you wouldn't see the design. So let me show you the back here. And you can see the design better on the black because I just used a solid blue fabric. So there's the stars and ribbons, and there's the eagle, which I really do like this eagle design. So that is the Honor Flight quilt that I just finished. So the next quilt that I'm going to put in for you, and here I've already got a little bit of this done. You'll see on the video how I do this. And I'm also doing this on the Butler system. So if you are a home machine quilter or a long arm quilter and you're not sure how a computerized system works on your machine, this will give you just a little bit of a taste of how the Butler system works. Now, I love the Butler. I did a bunch of research on different computer systems, and I decided on this robot when I bought my machine that this is what I wanted to put on it because I just love all of the features that it has. See, I'm just showing you the different design here that I did, and we'll talk about that later in the video. And there's the back of that quilt again. So I thought I would just give you all a little taste of what a computerized system like the Butler can do for you. Hey quilters, this is Ann. So I am in my studio, and I thought I was going to be able to just throw this quilt in today and get it quilted and get it done. However, I forgot that I didn't have any borders on it. And because all of the edges are biased, every single one, I have to put a border on it. It'll just make it easier to quilt, and I want to make it just a little bit bigger. So when I get that finished, I will come back. We'll get this quilt in and get the Butler running and get going. All right, I'm back. I have my borders on. I have my quilt loaded. This quilt is called Diamonds Are a Quilter's Best Friend. This was a mystery quilt that I presented to 3 different guilds. It's also on my blog, addicthreads@blogspot.com. So it's a free pattern, and it's based on a layer cake, or there's also instructions for cutting it from your scraps. So it is the perfect size for Quilts of Valor. I've got it in. I have it basted across the top. I have it basted down the side. Now when I baste it down the side, I do a zigzag stitch. That way, if I end up when I'm quilting, if I have some extra fabric, I can just clip those stitches and push it off to the side, and I'm good. So now I'm ready to get started on my Butler. So I'm going to move my machine. It tells me to move your machine to the back left corner of your quilting area and press the plus button, which is over here. Now it's telling me to move my machine to the right front corner of my quilt area. So we're going to bring the machine all the way back down over here to this corner. And I'm going to pull this down. I'm going to pull it all the way against the belly bar and then push it up about 1 inch. Because if by some reason I have tension on my belly bar and it's tighter, it's not perfectly parallel, I don't want my machine banging up against the belly bar as my robot is running. So now I'm going to hit that button, and it's going to tell me that the table width and the table height, and I'm going to say yes. And so now I'm ready to go. At this point, I'm going to go into my patterns and choose a pattern. So let me find one I want and we'll be right back. Okay, so I have chosen my pattern and I'll show you. This is called Cool Beans. I've used this pattern before and it stitches out beautifully. What I like about it is, I'm going to show you my quilt again here. This is kind of a modern quilt in the fact that it has a lot of empty space in it. So like all this area here, which does have words written in it, but it's also a very geometric quilt. So I want to kind of keep that design element, aesthetic in what I'm quilting here. So this pattern is called Cool Beans. I have no idea where I bought it or who designed it, so I apologize. If you are the designer, please tag yourself. But it's called Cool Beans and it stitches out beautifully. So now this whole space in this orange box, that is my quilting surface. So now I need to fill my quilting surface so that my robot knows where everything is going to go. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit this button. And this is going to bring up my screen where I can tell it how many blocks horizontal and how many blocks vertical that I want. So if I hit this button here, you can see it's just going to keep filling this up. And I could probably get one more in there. Okay. And so that fills it all the way across. Now also I could hit autofill, which is going to make it really long and skinny blocks. You know, and that actually is kind of cool, but I think I want to put one more in on my horizontal and kind of squish this just a little bit more. So I'm going to go up here, tap this, grab this little button, push that over. See how that is? Okay, so now I kind of like that. That looks pretty good. I could even go one more maybe. I don't want my quilting to be too far away. So I've added, I now have 12 horizontal. And I'm going to come over here. Oops. There we go. Grab that button. Oops, middle. Grab that button. Come over there. So I have even more. And I kind of like that. So what if I wanted to make them not quite so long and I want to shorten them up? So I can go over to my vertical and hit plus. And now I'm going to take this whole thing and shorten it up into my orange space. Oh. My fingers are cold, so my tablet's not responding exactly well. Okay, so now I have this, and I like this. This looks pretty good to me. I like how these are not exactly in with each other, but they're on the same line, and I think that that will look really good on this quilt. All right, so now I've got this set up. This is how I want it to be. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to hit home. And then I'm going to come to this side. Now I'm on the home screen. And this little needle here, if it's not lit up, all it's going to do is trace my design. So I'm going to hit that little button and that's lit up. So that means it's going to start stitching. I'm going to hit my green button, which means go. It's going to tell me to verify that my needle is up. And yes, it is. So I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to hit the check mark. And it's going to move. So the robot is going to take my machine all the way over to where the stitching is going to start. Alrighty. And it's going to take a stitch and it's going to tell me to pull up the bobbin thread and press OK. So I am going to move my machine here, pull up my bobbin thread. Then I'm going to pull those to the side. I'm going to come up here, hit the check mark, and it is automatically going to come back down where I told it to start. Take 3 little stitches, because I have that set to 3 little stitches, and off it goes. So it is just going to quilt its little heart out while I go and bind on some quilts. Absolutely not my favorite thing to do, but a necessity. So first, before I go, let me tell you the batting I am using is by Winline. It is their 80-20, so it's 80% cotton and 80% or 20% polyester. If you look at the top, you can tell that it has kind of the fuzzy side. That has to go up. It does have a scrim back. So the scrim back is the real smooth side. That has to go down. And that keeps my batting from bearding, which means when my needle goes through, I would end up with little tufts of batting being poked through. So you can see how this is quilting. I'm absolutely loving this design. And we're just going to let this run. If I have a problem, which usually the only thing I have to do is stop because I've run out of bobbin thread. So if you are the engineer who can invent the perfect bobbin that I never have to worry about running out of thread, you will make a fortune and retire. So anyway, let's just let this thing run, and I will come back when it is time to go to the next row. All right, so we are done with that first pass. Remember, there's 2 passes, one above the other. Now it has stopped. It did 3 little stitches, and I cut the thread. It's telling me to cut the thread, so I'm going to do that. Hit the check mark. Now the machine is going to move. The robot is going to take it all the way back to the other end where it's going to start that second pass. And I'm sorry if I have the sniffles. My allergies are driving me crazy. Let's cut them over here. It's going to take that stitch. It's going to tell me to pull up the bobbin thread. So I am going to move my machine back. Pull this up. Grab the bobbin thread. Put them off to the side. Now it's going to come back up here. I've pulled up the bobbin thread. I'm going to hit the check mark. And like I said, my hands are cold. So 3 little stitches. And off it goes. It is fascinating to watch this thing move. My husband and my son-in-law both like to just kind of stand and watch it. Kind of, if you have an embroidery machine, you kind of know how fascinating it is watching it just move itself to do the stitching. Well, my Butler robot does exactly the same thing. It just kind of carries on. All I have to do is make sure that I don't run out of bobbin thread, or maybe my thread breaks. So the thread that I am using is by Glide. My machine absolutely loves Glide thread. I have no problems actually in either one of my machines. So what I'm using here is the Gammill Vision 2. And this is the big machine. This is the 32-inch throat. And when I bought this machine, don't look at all the junk in the background. I need to clean my studio. When I bought this machine, it was with the specific purpose that I was going to be putting the Butler system on it. And I knew that the Butler would have no problems moving around such a heavy machine. And I was right. It has stitched out beautifully. It just moves the machine. Now, I do have the speed turned down low. You can turn it up faster. I have it on 60, but that's pretty fast for me. I'm good because I'm doing other things. So we're just going to let this run, and when I get this pass done, we'll take a look at the design and how cool it is. So we have come to the end of the second pass, and I just want to show you how this design stitched out. As you can see, this comes down. This is the end of my first design here. This is the beginning of my second design. And I really just like this easy geometric design on this geometric quilt. So I am going to roll and get the next passes down and get this quilt done. And I thank you for bearing with me on my sniffles. And I just love this design. So I will see you all next time.